Chullin Daf Kuf Yud Gimel. Rava says that the brine of fish, the brine of meat, has different characteristics than the blood. Blood, we said, once it's expelling blood, the piece of meat, it cannot absorb blood, but it could absorb brine. Therefore, if you have two pieces of fish, one is kosher and one is tamei, the kosher piece will absorb the brine from the non-kosher piece if the non-kosher piece is salted. The salting causes the brine to be expelled, and the kosher piece will absorb it. Even if the kosher piece is also salted, and therefore it's expelling brine, expelling blood, it still has the ability to absorb the brine, and memela it becomes treif. However, if the non-kosher piece is not salted, so then nothing happens to the kosher piece. Even if the kosher piece is not salted or salted, it doesn't matter, it doesn't become tamei. And now we're going to talk about the halachas of melicha, salting the meat after shechita. There are three steps. First, you have to rinse off the meat really well, then you salt it really, really well, and then you rinse it off really, really well. Yafa, yafa. The first step of rinsing off can be done even by the butcher. The second step of salting it really, really well, yafa, yafa, means that you have to cover all the surface area, or it has to be salted to the point where it's not edible. If you use really thick salt, like kosher salt, which doesn't dissolve with the blood, then you have to shake off the salt off the piece of meat before you do the final washing, the final rinsing hadacha. The reason why you have to do a really good rinse at the end is because the salt that's attached or adheres to the meat has in it, it absorbed blood, and that blood could cause an issue in the meat. So you have to rinse it off really well. Says the Gemara, the bnei ma'ayim, keva, keres, dakim, and karkashna, meaning the intestines, the rectum, and the stomachs, the different stomachs in the animal, are not believed to have blood in them. Therefore, if you were to cook it without doing melicha, you can go ahead and eat them. The halacha is that when you do melicha, you should use a vessel that has holes on the bottom so that the blood can drain out. And because blood that sticks to the bottom, if there's a piece of meat that is soaking in that blood, that piece of meat becomes asur. Not like I said yesterday, that you can later on go ahead and be meilachet. You cannot do melicha on that bottom piece if it absorbs blood from other pieces of meat. So Rav Sheshes was very careful, and he said that you have to do melicha on each and every piece individually. He was concerned that blood from one piece might drip down into another piece and ruin it for the second piece. So the Gemara, that's not true. L'maisa, we don't pass like that, since if that's a concern, then you have to be concerned for each individual piece within itself. The blood from the top could come out and go down into the bottom from side to side, and we're not concerned. The halacha is, we know that when after you shech an animal, the animal groans, and through the groaning of the animal, it expels a lot of its blood. If you were to stop that groaning, then what you're doing really is causing the blood to remain within inside the body. So therefore, says the Gemara, you're not allowed to break the animal's neck immediately after shechita, because you're going to stop its groaning and you're going to cause the blood to remain inside. And then what happens? What happens is you're stealing from people, because they are used to buying meat by the weight and with less blood in it, and now it's saturated with blood. So that would be stealing. The Gemara is mesupik whether, if you're not stealing from other people, you're using the meat for yourself, is there a problem with the blood inside the animal? There could be a second isser. An isser of dam belua that's not supposed to be there, it's supposed to be expelled and it stays in. Maybe that blood is asur. Says the Mishnah that if you put chicken and dairy on the table, it's pasha that you're not over isur deraisa. However, if you eat it, that's already a machlokes, as we'll see in the following Mishnah. The next Mishnah says, all kosher animals, lekula alma, in other words, cows, sheep, goats, you're chayev for bishul basav chalav, achilas basav chalav, and hanav basav chalav, benefiting from basav chalav. A non-kosher animal and a non-kosher animal's milk, the kula alma, you're allowed to cook it. There's no issur to cook, and there's no issur to benefit from it. Obviously, you're not allowed to eat it. So says the Mishnah, according to Rabbanan, the issur basav chalav is on all kosher animals, even chayas like deer, and even oifais like chicken and pigeon. It's all asur midiraisa. According to Rabbi Kiva, chayas and oifais are excluded because the Torah says, it says it 3 times, one to exclude a chaya, one to exclude a oif, and one to exclude a non-kosher animal. According to Rabbi Yisrael Glili, he's in between shita. He says chayes and behemoths are doiraisa, but not birds. Why? Because the Torah says in the same pasuk of Basar B'chalav, the Torah uses the word nevela in the beginning of the pasuk. So anything that can be a nevela, such as a chaya, is aser doiraisa Basar B'chalav. What about a bird? A bird could also be a nevela. Well, a bird, it says b'chalei v'imoy, and typically birds don't nurse. So therefore, a bird is not included in Basar B'chalav. Now, it does say in the Torah Gedi. So maybe I would think that Basar B'chalav is only for a goat. So says the Gemara, that's Shnei Ksuvim Ba'im Ke'achad. The Torah talks about a Gedi by Rivka with Yaakov and Esav, and talks about by Yehuda, and over there it's specifically a goat and no other animal. So since in those two places it's specific, sometimes you have two specific places, then you don't learn from there, and any other time that the Torah says Gedi means all animals. What about the other man that says that you could learn out when the Torah does bring two psukim? The Torah says hey, both by Rivka and Yehuda say ha'izim, it's extra hey, it comes to exclude only those two places. Shmuel says, it says Gedi, B'chalev, Gedi, Gedi, B'chalevim, he says it 3 times. One, to say that there's an Isser Basar B'chalav, even with the fats of an animal, and an Avela. Now the fats of an animal is Isser Chala Isser, because the Torah says you're not allowed to eat that Chalev, and then only afterwards you're doing Isser of Basar B'chalav, so that's Isser Al Isser. Shmuel holds Isser Chala Isser according to this, and we'll see in the Gemara soon something else. And the second one is to include Basar B'chalav, the Isser Basar B'chalav on a Shala, which is a fetus. And the third one is to say that it doesn't include a non-kosher animal. What about blood? Blood is not considered a goat. Blood runs through the body, but is not part of the body. Therefore, if you cook blood with milk, you're not over midiraisa. Placenta, also not part of the body. It's just the excrement of the body. Now, as we said, nevela is the isra chala isra. What about the case of a kohen who's tameh, who eats truma that is tameh? The kohen doesn't get misa. Ein isra chala isra. So is it a contradiction? Says the Gemara, no. It could be that kohen is an exclusion, that there's no isra chala isra over there, or it could be that by Basar B'chalav there's an inclusion that by Basar B'chalav Shmuel holds isra chala isra, but usually he holds ein isra chala isra. The Torah also says 3 times b'chalei v'imoy. What does it come to include? One comes to say that it has to be a mother, roy to be a mother, and a dead animal cannot be a mother. So if you have milk in a dead animal, it's not included in the Isser. And another one, it has to be roy to be a mother, and a zachar cannot be a mother, therefore it's not included. What about an animal who is pregnant and has milk, but is not a mother? That is included. Why? Because she can become a mother. She's roy in the future to be a mother. And the third one is that it comes to exclude milk from a non-kosher animal. Rabbi and Rasi and Mechulgan Shmuel, they hold ein isser chalal isser. Therefore, since the chaylev, the fat, was there first, there's no isser of basar b'chalav when you cook it with fat. However, that's if you are eating it, the achila of it. But what about bishul? Just cooking is machlokes Rabbi and Rasi. That one of them says that the isser, since there's no isser of chaylev, you're allowed to cook chaylev all day long, you're just not allowed to eat it. So there's only one isser of basar b'chalav, therefore you are over. The other one will say, no, since the Torah used the lashon of bishul and not achila to tell us that bishul and achila are the same, and since there's no isser to eat it right now, then there's no isser of bishul. Have a wonderful day and have a meaningful fast.